Presidential speeches. William Taft, Presidency, March 4, 1909. Inaugural address. A transcript. Anyone who has taken the oath I have just taken must feel the heavy weight of responsibility. If not, he has no conception of the powers and duties of the office upon which he is about to enter, or he is lacking in proper sense of the obligation which the oath imposes. The office and inaugural address is to give a summary outline of the main policies of the new administration. So far as can be anticipated, I have had the honor to be one of the advisors of my distinguished predecessor, and as to hold up his hands in the reforms he has initiated. I should be untrue to myself, to my promises, and to the declarations of the party platform upon which I was elected to office, if I had not made the maintenance and enforcement of those reforms a most important feature of my administration. They were directed to suppression of the lawless and abuses of powerful of the great combinations of capital invested in the railroads and industrial enterprises, carrying on interstate commerce, the steps which my predecessor took and the legislation passed on his recommendation heavy accomplished March, have accused a general halt in the vicious policies which created popular alarm and have brought about the businesses affected a much higher regard for existing law. To render the reform lasting, however, and to secure the same time freedom from alarm to the part of those pursuing proper and progressive business methods, further legislative and executive action are needed. Relief to the railroads from certain restrictions of the antitrust law have been urged by my predecessor and will be urged by me. On the other hand, the administration is pledged to legislation looking for a proper federal supervision and restriction to prevent excessive issues of bond sound stock by companies owning and operating interstate commercial railroads. Then to a recognition of the Department of Justice of the Bureau of Corporations in the Department of Commerce and Labor and the Interstate Commerce Commission, looking to effective cooperation of those agencies is needed to secure a more rapid and certain enforcement of the laws affecting interstate railroads and industrial combinations. I hope to be able to submit at the first regular session of the incoming Congress in December next definitive suggestions in respect to the needed amendments to the antitrust and the interstate commerce law and the changes required in the executive departments concerned in their enforcement. It is believed that with the changes to be recommended, American business can be assumed of that measure of stability and certainty to respect to those things that may be done and those that are prohibited, which is essential to life with growth of all business. Such a plan must include the right of the people to avail themselves of those methods and combinating capital effort deemed necessary to reach the highest degree of economic efficiency at the same time differentiating between combinations based upon legitimate and economic reasons and those formed with the intent of creating monopolized artificial controlling prices. The work of formulating into practical shape such changes and creative work of the highest order and requires all the liberation possible in the interval. I believe that the amendments to be proposed are just as necessary in the protection of legitimate business as in the clinching of the reforms which properly bear the name of my predecessor. A matter of most pressing importance is the revision of the tariff in accordance with the promise of the platform upon which I was elected. I shall call Congress into extra session to meet on the 15th day of March, in the order that a consideration may be once given to a bill revising the Delay Act. This should secure the adequate revenue and adjust the duties in such a manner as to afford to labor and to all industries in this country, whether of the farm, mine, or factory, protection by tariff equal to the difference between the cost of production abroad and the cost of production here, and have a provision which I shall put into force upon executive determination of certain facts, a higher of maximum tariff against those countries whose trade policy toward us equitably requires such discriminations. It is thought that there has been such a change in conditions since the enactment of the Delay Act, drafted on a similarly protective principle, that the measure of the tariff above stated will permit the reduction of rates in certain shells and will require the advertisement of few in, if any. The proposal to revise the tariff may in such unauthoritative ways as to lead the business community to count upon it necessary halts all those branches of business directly affected, and those the most important. It disturbs the whole business of the country. It is imperatively necessary, therefore, that a tariff bill be drawn in good faith in accordance with promises and before the election by the party in power, as an promptly passes as due consideration will permit. It is not that the tariff is more important in the long run than the perfection of its reforms. In respect to the antitrust legislation and interstate commerce regulation, but the need for action when the revision of the tariff has been determined upon is more immediate to avoid embarrassment of business. To secure the needed speed in passage of the tariff bill, it will seem wise to attempt to other legislation at the extra session. A venture that is a suggestion only for the course to be taken by Congress upon the call of the executive is wholly within its discretion.